the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. It is your season prediction show where we take a look at the upcoming 2025-26 campaign in the SPFL. To join me as always, it's a fascinating panel. It's a fantastic panel. We've got the best. We've got the best for the opening show of the season. All right, we've scoured the net far and wide, and we've recruited the best people available. And we'll start obviously in order of how we're going to go about proceedings. I'm Scott McPike. I'm the host of the show, and probably want to hear my opinion last, but I'm here and I'll make my opinions as always. To join me first of all, it's a pleasure to welcome Josh McCafferty.
How you doing, Scott?
I'm very well, thanks for coming on. Lewis Anderson.
Hi, Scott. Well.
All good. Graham Duthie.
Good evening, mate. Hope you're all well, people.
All good. And Robbie Boyd.
I know way to get into this. Buzzing.
Right, let's get into it. Well, working at the Premier Sports Cup has been completed, thankfully, because I'm not a fan of it. I just want to get into the kind of big stuff early on. It's a pre-season tournament, isn't it? Let's be honest. It gives us a wee bit of info as we'll get into during the show. But what we're going to do is you'll have seen the show in the past. We do our predictions of the campaign. We're going to cover all 4 leagues. We're going to spend a bit of time talking about our reasons for our predictions. Josh, I want to get everybody's thoughts on their kind of respective teams and where they're at in pre-season. Just in terms of Celtic, obviously yourself cover a lot of teams, but Celtic is obviously the team that you kind of specialise in. I'd imagine we'll talk about them at the kind of start of the show, but overall, what's been your kind of takeaways for pre-season in Scotland as a whole?
It's been an interesting pre-season for Celtic. I think some pretty good results, some pretty poor results at the same time. That the Ajax one sticks out. Transfer business, they've signed a lot of players, but there's still a lot of gaps in the squad. But in terms of the performances and the way the team are playing, at least the first choice players, I don't think it's been too bad, and I think Celtic are in a really good position going into the start of the season. But still a lot of work to be done in terms of incomings. They've cleared a lot of deadwood, which is good, and they look to have made some shrewd additions. But I keep saying, I think there are several gaps in that squad. When Yang Hyun-jun is a first choice winger, and you've got a Champions League qualifier playoff on the horizon, then I think you've got some issues. So, we're just gonna have to wait and see what they do between now and the end of the window.
Lewis, I'll come to you just in a kind of an overall kind of aspect. Like where are you kind of at with the kind of the pre-season? Have there been any kind of takeaways before we get into talking about the actual football that kicks off?
I think Josh is spot on in terms of the Celtic. There's clearly gaps that need filling, and I'd imagine at this stage, fans have kind of already started venting their frustration as to why there isn't kind of more activity, particularly at this stage in the window. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers being quite vocal about trying to get in a couple of new faces, but well, you'd imagine they'll be in, of course, before the Champions League qualifier, but more so in the next 7 to 10 days. Obviously, the new campaign starts next weekend, and you'd imagine that there's a couple of areas in that squad that he's clearly needs reinforcements in. It has been nice to see a couple of the young boys get a chance during pre-season, something that I've been quite vocal about Celtic maybe not doing as much of. I know Rodgers did that kind of towards the latter stages of last season, but certainly good to see the likes of young Colby Donovan getting a chance in pre-season and showing up relatively well. So yeah, I think I still think Celtic are in a decent place at this moment in time with the squad they've got. Josh touched on it; did manage to get a lot of the fringe players off the book, and I'd imagine there'll be a couple more in the coming days, like Marco Tilio and all that. Certainly didn't do anything yesterday against Al Ahly to suggest that he has any future at Celtic going forward. So yeah, I think they're in decent shape, but 1 or 2 acquisitions certainly needed over the next couple of weeks.
Graham, it's all changed at Hearts. New manager in Derek McInnes and a very fancy analytical system under Tony Bloom. where are you at with Hearts? Obviously, one of the teams that have had the kind of benefit of a Premier Sports Cup campaign. What have you kind of seen in the early stages to get you excited for the new era at Tynecastle?
One word, Cledo Braga. What a player. No, it's been very encouraging. I mean, I have to caveat with the fact we've played against lower league teams, but I've seen Hearts struggling in games like this before. Under Ian Castle, failed to get out the group. So it's nice. It's been professional, getting a lot of goals, getting pretty much most clean sheets apart from the Dunfermline game. But it's been very encouraging. I've even noticed like just small things, like even in the warm up before games, just that it looks more intense. There's more intensity. There's kind of a bit more energy that we didn't really have last season. And the signs have all settled in really well. I was at the game yesterday against Sunderland, and again, it's a pre-season friendly for Craig Gordon, who deserved it. But I thought Ocean McEntee was excellent. Cledo Braga, again, his fourth goal. I know these don't count, but he looks a cracking signing. His movement, his energy. Kezridis out wide has added a lot of energy. And of course, I think the biggest one for me was the saga of the summer. Lauren Shanklin signing a new deal was huge, I think. And he's back in the goal chill again. We all know that last season was disappointing. But it's been very encouraging. You know, I know we've got bigger games to come, but we're scoring goals. It looks like a real threat going forward now. We're going to add to that even further. We've got Pierre Kabori coming in from Estonia. We've got our Icelandic midfielder coming in.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be players leaving because the squad's too big. We've got about 31, 32 players. The squad's too big. It has to get thinned out. But it's very encouraging. I'm very encouraged for the start of the season. I think we can do very well this season. As I said, I know there's a lot of bigger games to come. Aberdeen, first game of the season, but there's a lot more encouragement than there was, I think, last season. I thought pre-season last season was really shambolic. We didn't play enough games. We didn't look great at all. But it's been far, far better. And I think Derek McInnes is a sensible appointment. I felt a little bit sorry for Neil Critchley. It just didn't really work out. But we've got a guy that knows the league. He's taken it to like a duck to water. And it's very, very encouraging so far.
Okay, excellent. Robbie, moving into Queen of the South. Not a great Premier Sports Cup campaign. 3 points from 4 games. Not the best. Obviously, the one against Edinburgh City, Reece Lyon scoring a hat-trick will probably be the kind of takeaway. But overall, in terms of the kind of Queen of the South, where they're at, where do you see 25, 26 going for them?
Again, I think the Premier Sports Cup group stage for teams like ourselves are beneficial, really, to get through. And for prize money, and you look at it, you know, if Queen's got to the last 16 there, it's probably another 2 players in at the window for us. Now, I would argue we need another 4 or 5, and that's including the players that we've got to come back, Jordan Allen and Brennan Dickinson, who for me are probably 2 of the top players in the forward areas in League One. They're out for a kind of considerable period of time. Looking at the group stage as a whole for us, I think it was the toughest group drawn, definitely, when you look at the money that County have got. Obviously, myself and my split allegiances with Thistle as well. And Edinburgh City, who I don't think there'll be any pushovers in their own league, but and then they get the Galloway Derby defeat on Saturday there certainly wasn't great, but without the group stage, with a bit of a whimper. But I think we were really scuppered by having the break first and then having to go Tuesday, Saturday. Whereas the other teams in the group had the break in between. So yeah, I don't see the group stage really kind of defining our season. It certainly would have been nice to have finished up, you know, higher for a bit of pride and maybe financially, but it is what it is, and we'll certainly put everything into the league campaign, I think.
Absolutely. Well, let's move into our predictions for this season. The way we're going to work this is we're just going to go around the panel for their predictions of the following kind of categories that we're going to have. We're going to go Josh, Lewis, Graham, Robbie, me, and then we'll just do that all the way around. What we're going to do first is we'll do first and second and the Premiership. Josh, in no finer term, who's going to finish first and second, and give us your reasoning as to why both clubs will finish there.
So I think Celtic will finish first, then Rangers second. I don't think the gap will be as significant as it was last season, just given that if Rangers can sort out their results against the smaller, so-called smaller teams in the league, and they've already proven they can beat Celtic with the squad they've got, so there's no reason to suggest that they can't lessen the gap on Celtic. But I still think Brendan Rodgers and his team have enough quality to get over the line and win what would be a fifth title in a row. So yeah, Celtic first, Rangers second, but it certainly won't be as big as what was it last season, 17 points or thereabouts. So yeah, I don't think it'll be as significant a gap as that this time around.
Lewis, first and second in the Premiership. Are you with Josh or are you thinking elsewhere?
Yeah, no, I'm with Josh. I think I think Celtic win the league relatively comfortably. In my opinion, again this season, I think it'll be at least another season or two before Rangers are in the position that they really want to be. In my opinion, in terms of challenging for the title. I think the signing activity at Ibrox so far this summer has been relatively predictable. In terms of Russell Martin, obviously utilising his predominantly English-based contacts. I'm not convinced he has the greatest contacts book personally, just due to kind of his background, the players he's worked with previously. And I know that kind of a lot of the players that they've been linked with this summer are guys that he's either tried to go for previously or he's had work under him at Southampton. And I must admit, Scott, that I haven't been overly impressed so far by what I've seen. I think the best of the lot is probably this Deji Gassama lad from Sheffield Wednesday. He looks a really top talent, but still a lot to learn there. They've obviously had a decent experience in the middle of the park with Joe Rothwell, who probably had his best game so far against Middlesbrough there at the weekend. I thought he was really good. No, sorry, I'm thinking of the game before that, Panathinaikos game. So I think in the middle of the park that they are stronger. I think Lyle Cameron was decent in the second half against Middlesbrough at the weekend. So and obviously they've still got Nicholas Raskin at this moment in time, but I still think they need reinforcements up front. Obviously, this time of recording, they've still got Hamza Igaman, Cyril Dessers. I don't expect either of them to be a Rangers player by the end of the summer transfer window, which will obviously leave a lot of question marks as to who might come in and fill the gap there. And obviously centre back is still a real problem position. So yeah, no, I think Celtic win the league, and I think it's relatively comfortable again for them.
Okay. Graham, who we got in first and second in the Premiership?
Blind loyalty wants me to say Hearts either first or second, but when you engage your brain, realistically, I think it'll be Celtic first, Rangers second. I mean, I don't think Rangers are strengthened that badly. I mean, I think Gassama's decent. I think Rothwell's all right. Max Sanders, I'm a big fan. I've seen him play before. And I think the young laddie, Finlay Curtis, has done very well in every game he's played so far. But I do think Celtic will strengthen further. I know they've not strengthened a lot. They brought in like Nygren, who looks decent. Kieran Tierney's back. They will strengthen further. So I just think Celtic probably will end up strengthening further before the window shuts. So I think I probably would have to go Celtic first, Rangers second again.
Okay. Robbie, is it Celtic first, Rangers second for you?
I would love to, similar to Graham, and go with something outlandish, but no, it's not. It's going to be Celtic first and Rangers second. And again, with the general consensus of the guys there, I do think it will be closer this term. I don't think it will be as much a gap as 17 points. I think it will maybe be into the single digits as far as points go. But I think we'll maybe have a kind of semi-race for a title at some point. But I do think I'm excited and intrigued by the rest of the quality that the Premiership league will possess. I'm really excited by that kind of middle pack of Aberdeen, Hearts, and Hibs. Really excited by that, and then you've got your United, your Motherwells, and your St Mirrens. So I think I'm excited for the league in general, but I do think it'll be a Celtic win. You know, they know how to do it, but I think Rangers will be there or thereabouts for a while, but then have their kind of fall away. But I think they'll not disgrace themselves this year, Rangers.
Yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep. I think Celtic first, Rangers second. I do think it will be closer. I think one of the kind of takeaways I'm going to have is I think this Rangers team will be better against low block teams. Like Josh, I think we spoke round about Christmas time, and I had an enormous frustration at the fact that Rangers played 5 games over the Christmas period, won one of them, and it was a 3-0 win against Celtic. And I think that was Rangers' season in a nutshell last year. I think Russell Martin will be better at that. I think I've been quite encouraged with the business. I can see where Lewis is coming from in terms of you could probably write a list of 50 players that Russell Martin's linked with before, and probably a lot of the signings that have been made have fitted that bill. I don't think that will change. There's a talk of another couple who might kind of be different to that, but we'll see what happens there. We haven't really had a title race since 2011. Let's be honest. I think it'd be better for Scottish football if we had something. Like, do you know what I mean? You're not fed up, Josh, of winning the league in September.
But I think, in fairness, I think the Ange Postecoglou's first season at Celtic 21-22, there was a bit of a title race. It took Celtic into the penultimate match day of the season. Rangers kind of tailed off with the Europa League run. That was the main focus that season. And then Brendan Rodgers, first term back at the helm, there was also a wee bit of a title race as well. Ultimately, Rangers
one that goes to
challenged for
final day. I mean, like that's
definitely.
what we want.
Yeah. And for me, I've still not experienced that yet, so that would be quite something. So listen, it could be the first campaign that happens this year, but I think Rangers it would take maybe, I think Lewis touched on it earlier, a couple of years to really fully challenge for a title, but I think they will put up a bit of a fight this season.
I don't think there's any Rangers fan expecting to win the league this season, but I think they want less than 17 points. 75 points last season. I'm just going to let go here. 22 wins, 9 draws, 7 defeats. Like Celtic only beat Rangers once. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's that is the difference. Like it's that's the big issue. And I'm very interested to see what you think about kind of Celtic's businesses. We'll probably get into with kind of signings and things like
Can
that.
I kind of interject on that point a wee bit? And again, coming from a fan of a smaller club, and I'm open up to the old firm guys here. Is it so when there's a title race going on, do you always look at the games against each other, or is it your Motherwell aways, your Hearts aways, your Aberdeens? Is it that kind of middle pack team that these tend to lose the league against?
Yeah.
Or genuinely, when you look at it, is it against each other and those 4 games?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably because when you consider last season, I mean, Rangers won the majority of the derbies in the league, and they fumbled against the lower teams. So, yeah, it really just depends on if you can sort out your results against the teams that build up in a low block, and if you can do that, then the derbies will be crucial. It just really depends.
I think as well, and on that kind of point, like Josh, remember this as well. When Rangers won the league again, like when Rangers won the 55, Celtic's results, like against Livingston, Hibs were awful, and that kind of killed it. Do you know what I mean? That kind of killed them as well. And it is, you need to go to Livingston away and win. You need to go to Kilmarnock away and win. And so often that if you're going for a title when you lose those, Rangers had a wee bit of a title run, like a title challenge 2 years ago, and then lost to Motherwell, Ross County, and Dundee, and that was it. I mean, that killed their momentum. So it is about winning those games away from home. You need points. I mean, there's 17 points, and we've said there, like Rangers dropped 10 points over Christmas and beat Celtic.
Can I be controversial?
Yep, that's what we're here for.
See the games that Rangers beat Celtic last season, they didn't mean anything. Because if you look at the games that Rangers won, the league was pretty much done.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. The game, like so often, like the title race has been realistically over after 4 games, and it was the same last season. Rangers were 5 points behind after the first Old Firm game.
I think one of the games that Rangers won, they were about 15 points behind. That was to get down to about 12, and the next game it was done. So I'm not taking away from the fact Rangers won those games last season, but in terms of the league title, it meant nothing.
That's kind of what I'm meaning. Yeah,
Rangers did not win a meaningful game last season against Celtic. That's the only thing I will say.
Yeah, and again, that is kind of what I'm kind of getting at. That's why I do think there will be. It was the same in Gerrard's first season. I think that'll come up a lot with me this season in terms of Rangers, similar to Gerrard's first season, where there wasn't expectation Rangers were going to win the league, but you have to kind of close that gap. And again, I think Celtic. I don't think Celtic are like a lot better than they were last season. I thought at times they kind of laboured towards a title. When you have that kind of healthy lead, Josh, it's when.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 10 points clear and cruising, and there's not really much happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't take your foot off the gas. I think this summer's very interesting from a Celtic point of view because there's already some whispers about recruitment. Is Rodgers happy?
One thing I will say, in terms of this time next year, I think, well, I'm certainly resigned to the fact that Brendan Rodgers won't be at Celtic this time next year. Russell Martin will already have a year, 12 months in the bank at Rangers. Yeah. Used to life in the Scottish Premiership, Celtic will be getting a new manager in the door, probably a big overturn of players. So next, not the season starting now, next season should be very interesting because Martin will have that experience and Celtic will be getting a new manager.
So I've heard a lot of people say what you've just said there. Why do you
Mhm.
think that? Because I want to see if it matches what I've heard.
Why do I think that Brendan Rodgers will leave?
Yes.
I just feel to be honest, I don't even think Brendan Rodgers knows what he wants to do yet. But he said he's had discussions with Dermot Desmond over the summer. We have still yet to hear the outcome of those. I feel like if it was a positive outcome, we'd have heard something by now. I also feel that the transfer business this summer, in terms of the way it's been handled, for every I read a stat on Twitter before we come on there, for every £1 million Celtic have spent this summer, they've made £8.8 million from sales like Sakun, Frimpong money coming in. So I think that'll frustrate him, the lack of money that's been invested in the team. I mean, you can talk about good value signings, certainly. Negrin, good value, Tierney, brilliant value. I mean, Maeda was 1.5 million when he came in, but you still want to spend money when you're sitting on 85 million pounds. So in terms of what he's saying as well, some of his comments are very interesting. The likes of saying people like Shinya Madar club signings, also things like that. Is reading between the lines, it just doesn't look like he's going to be at Celtic this time next year. And on the whole as well, he's been here 3 years. Come the end of this campaign, he had 2.5 in his first spell. In modern football, 5.5 years is a long, long time to be at a club. So I think for him, it'll be time to move on. And it's just about who Celtic getting after that.
And
Josh,
I don't think he's finished with England either. Or just before Graham comes in, I
Yeah.
don't think he's finished with England. On you go, Graham.
I was just going to ask Josh. I've heard a few things about this. Is there still a disconnect between Brendan Rodgers and that Celtic board?
It's an interesting question. Personally, I don't know. I don't have any um, insider information, to be completely honest with you. But I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So simply, my answer is I don't know. But going by his comments in the press and what he's saying, talking about signings, and if you want to act like a big club, you need to move quickly and spend the money and things like that. It's just something seems a wee bit off. Just gonna have to wait and see how this season pans out. One thing as well I would add is that Celtic need confirmation over his future, both for the players' sake, for the club's sake, for the fans' sake, for everyone's sake. You don't want to be going into the last 3 months of next season when there's a potential title race on and no one knows what's happening with Brendan Rodgers' future. You want to have that tied down by Christmas, ideally, and it also allows the club to future plan for a new manager as well. But he will want to leave on a high note. He won't want to leave losing a league title, losing a Scottish Cup final or something like that. He'll be determined to leave on a high note. But you never know. Maybe a U-turn. He might stay. You never know. Just have to wait and see what happens. And as I say, I don't even think Brendan knows yet what he wants to do.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you an explosive question that will gather headlines. Who's the Celtic manager this time next year?
Craig Levine.
I was going to say Derek
Um,
McInnes.
that's if Celtic have appointed a manager by this point next year. How slowly they're moving their business sometimes. Personally, I don't know. It's a really intriguing one. There's obviously people you think of like Jesse Marsh, who's long has really an affiliation with Celtic. They sponsored him when he was getting one of his UEFA licenses in the past. Robbie Keane's doing really well at Ferencvaros. He won the title with Maccabi Tel Aviv, so I think he could be a good candidate as well. John Kennedy's been in the building for a very long time. He's highly rated in the club, so that's just three options I would throw out there. But that's a conversation for 10 months down the line.
Yeah,
Josh,
we'll come
can I
back
ask
to
you
that.
a question on it? Just sorry, Scott. Just one more question. And again, it might be controversial, might not be. Who's got the bigger ambition, the Celtic board or Brendan?
I think Brendan Rodgers.
That's a
I
matter.
don't
That's
think
a
I don't
no-brainer.
think that's I don't think that's a question. Yeah, I think Brendan Rodgers has even spoke about it after the Bayern game. Although Celtic could beat, it was a heartbreaking last minute goal from Alphonso Davies. I remember watching Brendan Rodgers post match, and I haven't really seen him more excited about how Celtic could progress and build on that from that Bayern game. And since then, it's difficult to argue that the squad is stronger, to be honest. So that kind of shows you a lot about the board's ambitions and Brendan's ambitions. So yeah, I don't really think it's a question of who has the higher ones, and it's the manager.
See, just finally, but we'll get back to predictions just a minute. I just want to touch
Mhm.
on this while working on motoring a wee bit here. The striker position.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Is Adamida the number one option, or do you think they go back in?
If I was the manager, I don't think Adamida's the number one option for me. I think he still has so many parts of his game that need developed. His touch isn't great. his goal record, okay, he scored 20 goals last season. A lot of the goals came when Celtic had big leads in games. They weren't crucial goals. I think signing him for £9 million was a mistake. That's no sight on the player himself, but yeah, I don't think they'll go into the market for another striker simply because Shin Yamada's in the building now as well. So you have Ida, you have Yamada, you have Kenny and Osmond. One of them will be shipped out on loan, the other will stay as the third choice option. And then you've also got Maeda, who, if he stays, can play
Yeah.
as a number 9 if needed. As we'll get on to later in terms of player of the year predictions, top scorer and that, I think Yamada could be a really intriguing option for Celtic going by the early signs from what I've seen and what I've heard and who I've spoke to. But yeah, I don't see Celtic going into the market for another number 9.
Okay.
Matthias Kvisgarten was a tailor-made Celtic signing. They should have gone out, spent the money, and got him in my honest opinion.
I have heard that name linked with Celtic for about 9 years.
Yep.
Yep.
And I just think they bided their time too long. The price tag kept creeping up. Proven goal scorer, young, up and coming. Obviously, Celtic like the Scandinavian market. I just kind of thought that would be a real statement of intent to go out, spend the money, bring him in. I was really disappointed to see not only the fact he's gone to Norwich, that's almost like a backward step in my opinion. Celtic are a bigger club than Norwich City, aren't they? So.
But again, it kind of shows a change as well, and I think that was a thing. Like Norwich have signed Kvisgarden on the assumption that they're going to sell the boy Sargent. That's like planning ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Celtic sell.
And
Rangers don't do it either.
No.
It's like I just think there's going to be a very interesting couple of months if Celtic don't do a lot of business in January. It's the same as before the January window. It's the same with the boy as well. The link with for Belgium is it Biswilika, I think his name.
Balikwisha,
whatever his name is. That's been a link for 3 or 4 years, not 3 or 4 years, but it's been 3 or 4 windows at least. I've heard that name linked with Celtic. Seems as if there is a bit of a kind of there's certain players that the club are linked with, and does it match who Rodgers is linked with? But
yeah, we'll and you notice majority of these players as well are in the final year of their contracts.
Yeah,
that's been a kind of real prevalent theme, isn't it? They're going after guys that they can obviously get for peanuts, and hopefully a couple of years later sell them on for big money, like they've done to excellent effect in the last couple of years. There's talk in the papers yesterday, wasn't there, about potentially Juranovic going to the Premier League. So that's another potential windfall there. The recruitment model in place at Celtic is outstanding.
Let's go into third and fourth. Obviously, last season were covered by Hibs and Dundee United. I don't think a lot of people would have added money on that and round about January time. But let's go into who's going to finish third and fourth this season. We'll start with Josh for that.
Yeah, I think there's 3 teams in my mind for this. It's not really hard to guess what 3 teams it is. Hibs, Aberdeen and Hearts. It's really hard to pick 2. I think Hearts are certainly going to be in there. They don't have Europe. They can focus solely on the domestic front. And as Graham was touching on earlier, Braga looks like a good signing. Shankland's finding his feet again. I think he'll do really well this season. Tynecastle's going to be a really, really hard place to go under Derek McInnes. So I actually back Hearts to get third this season. In terms of fourth, I think, Aberdeen are going to have group stage football or league phase football, aren't they? So that can take its toll. So I'll go with Hibs for fourth. So Hearts third, Hibs fourth for me.
Okay. Lewis, who we got in third and fourth?
Hearts, comfortably third.
Okay.
Very impressed with the signings so far this summer. Claudio Braga's looking really good. The Greek boy, I thought he's shown up relatively well. Ocean McEntee has developed a lot over the last couple of years from someone I've spoke to that knows him from his previous club, and Christian Berencevic, the Norwegian defender that they brought in as well. I think he'll need a bit of time, but I think they've got a really strong squad in place. I was impressed with Elton Kambangu last season, getting him back on a permanent deal. I think it's good business. So Hearts for third, and I'm going for Aberdeen for fourth. Difficult one. Josh is spot on. You just don't know how a team's going to react from on the back of European football. It can affect teams in certain ways, but I think Aberdeen have got a strong enough core there to be challenging for certainly the top 3 or 4 places.
Graham, who have we got for third and fourth?
I knew I liked Josh and Lewis, and it will not surprise you to say I am going for Hearts to finish third as well. But I've got Hibs to finish fourth. I think it'll be a really difficult race. The reason I've not got Aberdeen in there is because of European football. Group stage football, Thursday, Sunday, is very difficult, as we found out. Hibs are strengthened well. I think Josh Mullins is a good young player. They signed that guy for £1 million, a really good signing as well. But I just think we have got to be better than last season with McInnes there. I think we've strengthened very, very well. Said it before, I think Cledo Braga has taken to this so well so far. We've signed very well. I think we will be far, far better. We'll be far stronger at Tynecastle. We brought in a set-piece coach and we've scored pretty much every set-piece we've had this season. So, yeah, I am going to go Hearts third, blind loyalty, and Hibs fourth.
Okay. Robbie, who we got?
I'm sitting here sweating, Scott, because I'm breaking the mould and I'm listening to the logic and I'm like, I remember Kilmarnock in the past and Hearts in the past, but I'm going to go Aberdeen in third and Hibs in fourth. And I'm sorry. I totally understand the logic of going with the Thursday Sunday, and we've seen it in the past. It breaks teams down. But again, I do think the three of these teams, there's going to be points in it, and between 1 and 4, even goal difference between places. It's a really, really exciting race, and it will go down to the wire. But I just think certainly Aberdeen will be galvanised by the success they had to win in the cup. An old firm team winning a cup like that in that manner is definitely going to galvanise them on. And I've got Hibs there tactically because for one of the later on questions during the podcast, I've got a Hibs player up there, so I'll need them to finish fourth if he's going to do well. So tactical, Graham. Sorry.
That's fine, mate. That's fine.
I was going to ask Graham about Hearts in terms of the kind of business they've done, like in terms of like Claudio Braga, Cabangu coming out on a permanent basis. The boy Garjota from Italy's come in as well. The Albanian guy. There's obviously a couple due during the week. I think one of the best businesses that centre back in McEntee, and I think it certainly gives a bit of interest in how Hearts are going to set up, because I think we know the way Derek McInnes sets up, but I'm more intrigued at the fact that Penrice is gone, Lewis Nielsen's out on loan. Defensive-wise, how do Hearts shape up this season?
Well, we played 3-5-2 yesterday, and we've done it a couple of times, and actually we've looked all right with Halkett, Finlay and Kent there. I'm a big fan of Stuart Finlay. I was delighted with signing for Killie. I actually expected more Kilmarnock players to sign, like Danny Armstrong. But I think it depends who we play, the formation we play. So I think against Aberdeen next week we'll play 3-5-2. But it's been very, very good so far. Ocean McEntee is a far better midfield than he is a right back. He was excellent yesterday against Sunderland. Again, it's a pre-season game, but I thought he was very good. He's tall, he's physical, he likes to get forward. So there's a lot to look forward to for Hearts. But I think the formation will be dependent on who we play against. But the one thing I think we've got that we didn't have last season was strength and depth on the bench. So, for example, if you play a front two of Braga and Shankland, on the bench, you've got Wilson, who I really like, right highly. You've got Cabangu, you've got Karjota, you've got Kabori to come in. You've got a lot of options now that I don't think we had last season. So we've got that strength and depth that if we are struggling in a game, you can look at the bench and go, yeah, we can change this. We didn't have that last season. It's so different, which is why I just think that we've got a big chance for a third. Listen, I get Robbie's point completely, but I just look at that squad and think it's a very strong squad. And with a guy like Derek McInnes, who knows the Scottish game, who knows what Hearts is all about, I just think there's a lot of positivity. Now, of course, that could end if we get beat by Aberdeen next week, but there's a lot more positivity than there was last season.
That was my question, Graham. Kind of, especially if you guys go with the back three, because I think that's three strong centre halves you've named there. Even Ocean McEntee can drop back one. Like you say, I think he's a better 8 or a better 6 than he is a right back, certainly going for off his time in the Championship with Morton. But where does James Wilson fit in that formation? Is he, do you change that formation to have him behind the striker, or is he up there with Cabangu and Shankland? I know what you're saying about depth, but you want to start, and if you want to keep a hold of him for longer, you'll need to start him.
A really good point, Robbie, and I'm a big fan of Wilson. He's not long-term 18. I'm a big fan. He's got a big future. And actually, during pre-season, we played against St Mirren in a closed-doors game. He was the only one that started both halves. and even like in some of the Premier Sports Cup games, they started quite a few of them. I'm a huge fan of Wilson. I think he's got really good movement. He's got a really good touch. Yes, there are mistakes there, but he's only 18. But I think I look at what we've got just now, and that Shankland's going to start. He's the captain. He's going to play. And you look at Clyde O'Braga and think he has to play. So I think Wilson probably will have to maybe be more of a squad player. But I think there'll be games that he will start. But he's definitely got a big future. I'm a huge fan of Wilson. And I get asked this a lot about him. I think he's such a good footballer. He came in last season at a time where Hearts were struggling, scored at Easter Road, and he's done very well, I think. And I really hope that he gets game time, and I do believe that he will get a chance under McInnes. McInnes has shown that. But I think if I'm looking at that front two right now, you ain't dropping Shankland, and the way that Braga's playing just now, you can't drop him either. It's great options to have, but I really hope Wilson gets a chance.
I am so torn between Hibs and Hearts for third and fourth, to the point where I have changed it 4 or 5 times. I'm going to just side with Hibs just for the simple reason that I think if you were to look at, I think Hibs have a settled side at the moment. I think that we kind of know Iredale, Bashiri, and Ahora play back three. Rocky Bashiri is the most fascinating player in the world for me, because when I don't watch him, he seems to be Fabio Cannavaro. When I do watch him, he seems to be a guy down the street. It's one of those mystifying things in football. But middle to front, I think Hibs are probably just better at the moment. I think they've got Mulligan coming in, Levitt, Cadden and Obita look settled as wing backs. And I think their depth up in kind of attacking areas, like you've got Boyle, McGrath. I think McGrath's a really interesting signing. Hoylett's there as well, Josh Campbell, and then the Kieran Bowie, who I thought was a young player of the year last season. And then you spend £1 million in a striker from Switzerland. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of depth there in Hibs as well. And I think David Gray has kind of learned it now. I think he knows what he's doing in terms of coaching. I think he took a bit of time. I think Hibs third, and I really, again, what you're saying is right about Hearts. I think they will be better this season. I think McInnes is the right appointment. I was going to ask you, Graham, in terms of, is Derek McInnes the Eddie Howe of, we'll get somebody in for a couple of years, and then when he's kind of done the job, we'll go and get somebody more ambitious. It worked for it. Eddie Howe was very different because he ended up being the guy who delivered the goods. Is that the thinking with McInnes, do you think? It is get some of the experience and then we'll see what happens in a couple of years? Is that me maybe thinking too far ahead? Am I being disrespectful to McInnes?
Mate, if he leaves after winning Hearts the League Cup, the League and the Scottish Cup, I'll quite happily take that. But he's got a 4-year contract, and I think it does make perfect sense. You know, we've gone down inexperienced manager route before, and I think I said it before, I felt sorry for Critchley. I actually did back him for quite a while, but then he wouldn't change his formation. He kept that diamond formation, but it didn't work. Derek McInnes, you know what you're going to get. You know, he's going to be up and at him. He's already got the players playing for him, which I just don't think Critchley had. But if he is successful and he leaves, I have no issue with that, because it's only going to help us. I would love to think by the time that he leaves, he's won something at Hearts, because that's the barometer. And I also think what I've not touched about as well is the fact that we've got Tony Bloom there and the Jamestown stuff. A lot of these things that Hearts have made are through Jamestown.
Yeah.
Players I've heard of before, and I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen so far, nobody knew who Clyde O'Braga was. He's come in and been brilliant. Nobody knew who Kizarides was. He's come in and been great as well. So the Jamestown stuff does work. You can see what Tony Bloom's done at USG and Brighton. The Jamestown stuff works. I think it's very exciting times for Hearts on the pitch and off it. We know that Anne Budge is going to leave come the next AGM, and I think she's done a fantastic job at Hearts. She gets a lot of stick. Some of it I can understand, but she's done a great job. So I think there are good times on the park and off the park. But as we all know, supporters, the only thing that matters is what happens on the park. We have got to be up the challenge, and we have to win a trophy.
And I think Hearts will do exactly that. I think silverware is coming this season, Graham. I think I genuinely think Hearts will finish third, but also push Rangers for second. And that's a bold statement. I know it's a bold statement. I'm not.
You're becoming my favourite person tonight. You've done nothing but slag my club since we started.
But no, I just go back to the success Dale had at Aberdeen. Obviously, that was during a time where Rangers were obviously in the lower leagues. But there was one season there where Aberdeen had the chance to actually win the league, and then they bottled it towards the end, didn't they? There was only a couple points in it between them and Celtic, and I just think, given maybe another 2 or 3 years, I think Hearts will be mixing it. Obviously, this is the whole point of the Tony Bloom investment. They've been quite vocal about that, getting Hearts into a position where they're actually challenging for the league title. And judging by the recruitment so far this summer, I think, give it another couple of transfer windows, I think Hearts could be in the mix. I don't put it this way. I don't think they'll be ever winning the league, but certainly competing for second on a regular basis.
We'll get your thoughts on what trophy they'll win later on. Let's go to overachievers now. For what that means is a team that maybe finished bottom six last season. I'm not going to ask you to have Hearts because we've kind of covered them a lot in this. But who have you, Josh? We'll start with you. Who have you got maybe having a better season, maybe contending for a top six spot that maybe is kind of going to go under the radar this year?
Maybe I don't know if they're going to contend for a top six spot, but I think they'll do pretty well. I think it's Livingston coming back up for the Championship. Obviously, come up through the playoffs. Last year, beating Ross County. I think Mo Salah's a good signing for them. They've brought in Adam Montgomery on loan from Celtic. Tete Yenge is still at the club as well, and they've got some other quality players. I'm excited to see how Robbie Muirhead does in the Premiership. So yeah, I think Livingston will do pretty well this season. I don't see them going back down. As we know, it's not even called the Tony Macaroni Arena anymore, is it? It's a tough place to go regardless.
Thankfully not, no.
Home of the Setfair Arena will be a tough place to go.
I don't think that's much better, to be fair, but it's better than Tony Macaroni.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think Livy will do pretty well this season.
It's Almond Vale to us. I think that's all we'll call it, Almond Vale. That's what it is to me. Lewis, who's your overachievers for this season? Who could you see doing quite well?
Kilmarnock for a top six spot. I wasn't on the bandwagon of, I actually like the appointment of Stuart Kettlewell. I think he's a good manager. Dealt with him quite a few times last season when he was at Motherwell. Comes across really intellectual guy. I mean, bloody hell, some of the length of his interviews are beyond a joke. But he's incredibly passionate about the game, and I think Kilmarnock have signed well this summer. I think they've got a stronger squad than they had last season, and I think they've got enough about them there to be certainly in the mix for a top six place.
So, Graham, who's your overachievers this season?
I think kind of similar to Josh. I don't think they'll get top six, but I think Falkirk could do really well this season. I think the signing of Brian Graham, a natural goal scorer, I know it was in the Championship, is a very good signing. And I think having watched Falkirk a few times last season under John McGlynn, they play some fantastic football. Went to Celtic Park in the Cup, were very, very impressive. They've got them again in the League Cup, of course, but I actually think Falkirk will have a very good season this season. And I was at the Falkirk Stadium a few weeks ago for my laddies competition. That pitch is a very, very good pitch. They will actually have a good season, I think, at that stadium. They'll cause a lot of teams problems. So I think Falkirk will actually do quite well this season.
Okay. Robbie, who's your overachievers who you think could do well?
So in the Premiership, yeah, or in general? Yeah, Premiership. So I was on the edge of my seat because nobody was saying them, and then Graham says them. I think it will be Falkirk. I don't think it will be in the direction of a top six finish. I think they will isolate themselves away from the bottom two, and I think that will be a successful season for them this season. Don't get me wrong. I do see them pushing in the direction of your Motherwells and your Dundee Uniteds for that fifth and sixth eventually when they realise their potential, bringing back the academy, changing the park, all that. It's all going well in an upward trajectory. But yeah, so them for overachievers purely because they've just come up. And again, you look at the nucleus of the squad, a lot of the boys were playing at League One level. So I do think they will achieve well and achieve good things this year.
Okay, I'm going to go for Kilmarnock. I think I'm kind of mixed in the appointment of Kettlewell, but I can see the logic in it. My thinking is, though, I think the business have done pretty well, and I think they've looked at players in Scotland more impressively as well. I think George Stander's a really good signing. I think that was instantly kind of getting them kind of improving. I think they're going to go with a back three. Dees and Ndaba could be good as well. I think bringing in Brandon and Tiffany, I think good bit of experience in there as well. And I think the two strikers they brought in, I've been really impressed with Gennaro Daniels. I think he's a good addition to them as well. Looks very physical. I think the boy Dackers is a good signing for Salford. And Tom Lowry coming in for Portsmouth. I just think the recruitment's been pretty solid. They've lost a few players as well. Danny Armstrong's a big loss, as is Joe Wright. So it's going to be interesting to see who covers them. Bringing Greg Kilty back as well. Kilmarnock, I think they're going to challenge for a top six finish. I think Kettlewell could go under the radar. I think certain things a better appointment than another one that we'll cover later on. But I think I can see the logic in it. I think they could have a good season. Let's go for underachievers. We'll go to Josh first for that.
I think it's actually a very tough question, this one, Scott. I think there's a couple of teams in my mind. I think simply due to the fact in each of the past 3 seasons they've got top six. I don't think they're going to get it again this year, so I'm going to go with St Mirren as the underachievers for me. I don't think they'll have a bad season, but as I say, just because they've been consistently getting the top six, just because of the strength of the league this campaign, I don't think they'll get it again. So yeah, I'll go with St Mirren.
Okay, Lewis.
Dundee United.
Okay.
I don't really know what to make of it. Look at their team sheet the other night against Strasse in the Europa League. Not one Scottish player in that squad.
Is that an issue though, or is that?
I think it's a risk. I think it's a risk that they brought so many unknown quantities into the Scottish game. Obviously, we don't know how they're going to adapt. I could be totally wrong by this time. At the end of the season, they might be in the mix for third or fourth, but I don't like seeing that many foreign players signed in one transfer window. Dundee United have always been a club that look to promote from within, and I think they've got some talented youngsters there, the likes of Kai Fotheringham, Miller Thompson, good young players. I'm concerned for their development now going forward. If the United are going to go with the squad that they have, certainly took a long time to beat that and break down that team from Luxembourg on Thursday night, and haven't been overly impressed by what I saw in a couple of their pre-season bits. So yeah, on that basis, it's not a strong case, but I just don't see Dundee United being in the mix for top six this year. I actually think they'll be down towards the bottom of the table.
Interesting. Graham, who we got for underachievers?
I'm going Motherwell. I don't know what to expect with them this season. They've got a new foreign manager. It's going to be difficult for him to kind of get up to the speed of Scottish football. I know they send a lot of players as well. But again, I think the biggest thing is if they lose Lennon Miller in this window, which is more than likely, I don't know where that kind of a bit extra quality comes from. So I think Motherwell, could really struggle this season. So I've gone Motherwell.
Okay. Robbie?
Done it again, haven't I? I've put Motherwell. I think any time a Motherwell team aren't looking to batter down the door to get a top six finish is an unsuccessful season for them. Had they still had Michael Vimmer, I would have had them pushing in the direction of fourth, by the way. They have brought in well. I've watched a number of their games purely because they were always getting streamed on Premier. Luke Farringer looks good. Elliot Watt looks good. I just think it's up front. I don't know if they're going to get a lot of goals. And like Graham mentioned, the golden boy, the golden nugget, Lennon Miller, even if he signs this extra year deal that's going to be that's certainly in talks at the moment, it really is just so they can get 6 to 10 million for him.
Does anybody think Lennon Miller will be a Motherwell player on the 1st of September?
No,
I don't, and I think that will have a big detrimental effect because again, Graham's key point there he made, they've brought in a lot of signings already, and you look at the recruitment of that. They're bringing in signings before they're going to get this windfall of money. Are they then just going to splurge it in January? I don't know, so I can't quite grasp the recruitment strategy there. Decent individual players, but and again, they won't necessarily have a bad season. I've got them to finish 8th in my wee league table here, but like my kind of main point there is anytime for me a Motherwell team aren't battering down the door for a top 6 finish is underachieving.
Okay, I can see everybody's point of view. I'm actually going to side with Lewis and go Dundee United, but I've got another question. Where's the goals coming from? Is a Sam Dalby replacement there? That's a good point.
they'll be disappointed that he hasn't returned on a permanent. Likewise, Jack Walton, I thought was a top goalkeeper from Luton. So yeah, no, that's a really good point, Scott. Who knows? Who knows? You're looking through their squad. You can't even pronounce half the names.
I don't think it's that as well. I can see going. I think a lot of clubs are going down the direction of kind of scouting the net far and wide. It's bringing in 6 loan players as well.
Yeah,
it's that. It's not kind of where they're coming from. It's what's the kind of 6 loans about when you, as you say, you've got players like I do really like Kai Fotheringham. I do think he's a really exciting talent. It's just I just don't really know what they're trying to do. What is underachieving? Can they get top 6? Yes, I've got them. I've got them in 8th, but I think that's a lot lower than 4th. And I can see other teams having kind of similar seasons to last year. The D United are the one I think there's been a lot of transition there. I think there's a lot of players out. I think Sam Dolby, again, you mentioned obviously losing the goalkeeper as well, Jack Walton. They brought in the boy, is it Kirchenko, I think, from Ukraine. We'll see how that goes.
I think the Aussie boys, is that the Sapsford? Is it
Sapsford? He scored on Thursday.
Yeah, I think he's probably their main hope in terms of potentially double figures. I know his return was at Western Sydney Wanderers. I think he was something like that. He was at previously anyway. His return there was fairly decent.
Didn't have much of a spread apart for Dolby last season. I think the highest was 6. I think I'm just looking here. So yeah, 6 goals apart for that. It's not a lot.
Yeah. No.
No. And he managed to finish 4th there.
Exactly. Yeah, and again. Yeah, I'm intrigued with Dundee United. Let's go to 11th and 12th. Let's go to Josh. Who you got in the relegation positions?
I wasn't actually sure we were doing 11th and 12th. So if you come back to me on that one, I'll give you an 11th and 12th once you ask the other guys.
Lewis, 11th and 12th, please.
11th for me, Falkirk. I think it'll be I think it'll be tough going for them this season. I do. I think obviously they haven't been in the top flight for quite a while. Arguably, the strongest squad that they've put together for a while. When it came to the crunch at times towards the end of last season, they took a bit of time, didn't they? It was only natural that they kind of fell across the line rather than should have certainly been a lot easier than it was in terms of strengthening over the summer. Yeah, it's been okay. Obviously, don't know what type of budget John McGlynn's working with there. So I think they'll find it tough going. But I think they've got enough in their locker to avoid the drop, and the dreaded drop will be Dundee.
Okay. Can I ask the reason why? I can't believe you've come up with that.
I think I'm hoping that the panel will agree with me tonight, but just woeful.
Yeah, I've got a wee bit to say on that, but we'll wait till I'm ready.
The appointment of Stephen Presley, I mean, just mind-boggling, utterly bizarre. I didn't get it one bit. His opening press conference as well about talking about if you want a manager that's going to win lots of games, then I'm not your man or something. I just thought, what are you on about? And obviously early defeats in the Premier Sports Cup to who was it, Alloa? I'm trying to remember the
Airdrie and
Airdrie, yeah.
Alloa, I think it was Alloa.
Yeah. Just not impressed by the new signings. I just think they're destined to struggle.
Okay, so we've got a vote for Falkirk and Dundee. Graham, where are we at with 11th and 12th?
I'm going to go Motherwell 11th. I think they could really struggle this season. Again, I'll get it wrong, but I'm going to go Motherwell 11th. And 12th Dundee. I just think the appointment of Presley is horrific. The guy was
That's a Hearts legend you're talking about. How dare you?
The guy was an absolutely fantastic footballer, but his managerial record is horrific. He's got a 37% win record. I cannot believe they've gone for him. That, for me, is a Gordon Strachan appointment. It's a mates rates thing. I can't.
Stealing my thunder here because that's exactly.
I don't know who they interviewed, but nobody can tell me that of all the folk that they interviewed, that Presley was the best man for that job. I just don't buy it at all. It's a horrific appointment, and if I'm Tony Docherty, I'm sitting back going, they sacked me for that. I would be absolutely furious. Dundee finishing 12th, nailed on.
Robbie, where are we at by 11th and 12th?
I've went 11th Livingston. I think they've signed a lot of players. A couple of them decent. Adam Montgomery, decent addition. But I'm kind of, I covered a lot of Queen's Park last year. I'm looking at Cammy Kerr and Zach Rudden, and they genuinely are kind of bottom half, middle of the road championship level players. Getting a go in the Premiership. No for me. So yeah, I think they'll get their obligatory couple of points against either side of Celtic and Rangers, but I do think it will be 11 for them. And I done these predictions first week in July, and I thought I was being smart when I put Dundee at the bottom, but evidently not the way it's turned out to be. A real good point that both Graham and Lewis made there, when you've got a manager who sat in his first press conference and said, if you're wanting a manager to win games, I'm not your man. You're setting yourself up for a massive fall there. And it is such I don't want to take your point away, Scott. It is such a Gordon Strachan cliquey appointment, and it is, and that's what it's kind of turning out to be in the boardroom there. So yeah, Deadstone last. I don't think Presley sees Halloween, to be honest.
Okay, I had the school holidays personally. But, Josh, are you got 11th and 12th, and am I good to go before we? Because I'm fired up here.
But before you get on a bit about Presley, obviously I'll be going Dundee 12th as well, following the consensus, and it will be Motherwell 11th for me, just in terms of what we were speaking there a little bit, Lennon Miller. One thing I will say about Presley, just because we seem to be piling on him here, I'll give him a wee bit of backup. I listened to a podcast, I think it was about over a 40-minute interview, just sitting down with Stephen Presley, recorded after he got the Dundee job, and he came across really well. But at the same time, I think he just and one of the key things he said about himself is he will be honest. He'll be honest with the players. He'll be honest with the media, and that's one of his key traits. He's trying to reinvent himself as a man. But at the same time, I just think there's an unspoken code in football where you just can't come out and say things like that in your first press conference. It just doesn't make any sense for me. And like you guys say, I can't see him seeing Christmas. So I think it's bad for Dundee. That's a really good point you've made about Tony Docherty. I mean, he's on a nice rest at the moment, but you'll be thinking, goodness me. So and I think if Docherty was still in the job, I think Dundee would be fine. But obviously, they've went for Presley. They've pulled the trigger. And yeah, I think they'll get relegated. But I'll let you fire away now, Scott.
So again, like obviously Graham's point about Gordon Strachan, again, it has to be that, and it's not like Dundee don't have a track record in the past. We only have to go back to 3 years ago when they appointed Mark McGee from completely nowhere, and that didn't work. And it's not like Dundee have a history of sacking managers who have done well. They did it with Gary Bowyer, completely didn't see that coming either. I think Tony Docherty did a fine job. Like, I don't think he was exceptional, but I don't think he deserved the sack, to be honest. My problem with Stephen Presley is it's clearly a Gordon Strachan appointment. Do you remember there was a lot of talk about Sean Maloney at the start? And there was a similar thought of that's a Gordon Strachan appointment. Sean Maloney's a far better candidate than Stephen Presley. Now, was Sean Maloney maybe promised the Celtic job before it and that's how it didn't happen? I don't know. But Sean Maloney to Stephen Presley's like a fiver to a penny. Like, let's not kid ourselves here. And it isn't going to be a pile on Stephen Presley, because I do appreciate that it's not the nice thing to do. You're either appointing a manager for three reasons. You're either, and I'll throw the kind of the kind of appointments we've had over the summer in Scotland as a kind of example of this. Russell Martin is a decent manager, maybe had a bad spell. You bring him in to try and get his career back on track, gets the best out of the players that are there and bring his own style in. As Graham says, Stephen Presley's managerial record is not a good one. Like, he did okay at Falkirk. I don't think it was anything more than okay, but it wasn't any. I mean, Coventry was a disaster. He went to Greece, Cyprus, I think it was, and flopped completely. You're either bringing a manager in who's a terrific man manager, who's a charismatic figure, who can get the best out of what you have. Stephen Presley's not that. You don't have to be a genius to work out that Stephen Presley's not a charismatic figure. Do you know what I mean? Or it's an appointment that's a pal. And how many times have we seen it in Scottish football where you bring in your pal to try and get him a job? I think it's a disaster. I just don't get it. I mean, Dundee have the track record. Dundee are not a well run club. Let's not kid ourselves here. We've seen the bad things that have been happening over the past few years. The problem I've got with this though is every single person can see this, can see what's going to happen. What is success for Dundee in this season? Finishing 10th? Is that successful? Is that better than what was last season? No. You should be planning to beat last season. I don't think they're doing that with Stephen Presley.
I think it's never a good sign when your fan base is against an appointment straight away. Like it's not even 50, it's not even split. Every single Dundee fan that
seconds before it happened, before like it was announced, it was mesmerising.
All you've got to do is look at the game against Alloa. I went on Dundee's Twitter straight after the game. Every single comment, get him out now, he's not good enough. That's not a good sign. If you appoint, you can normally get a split in a fan base when you make an appointment, but every single fan of Dundee was against the appointment, and that is never a good sign for me. He's up against it from day one, and these results in the Premier Sports Cup have not helped his cause in one little bit.
It's not even that as well. It's like, I mean, I can ask about a couple of people how he did at Brentford. I think he was the head of player development, and it wasn't like it was. It wasn't like it was a complete disaster, but it wasn't like there wasn't a Brentford like there wasn't many Brentford players coming through that you thought that's a Stephen Presley project kind of thing. He signed a couple of boys for Brentford, but he's not signed a lot of youth players, and I would have thought that's what maybe he would have done, being there for 4 years. I mean, he's not signed much youth like Dre Wright, Paul Digby. They're kind of 30 plus, boy for Israel 29. Like, I just don't get it at all. But you'll be stunned to hear that I don't have Dundee in 12th. I've got them in 11th for the simple reason that I don't think Livingston are ready for the Premiership. I think they've maybe been promoted a bit ahead of schedule. They probably deserve to go up on the day, but I just don't think that squad's ready for Premiership, to be honest. I've got a Livingston in 12. I think they've recruited okay. I think they've brought in the likes of Silla, May and Carey, who had experience. Cammy Kerr's a decent addition as well. I just don't know if they've got enough to stay up. So I've got Livingston 12th, Dundee, I think, 11th, and we'll get into managers later on. I think Stephen Presley, not a great appointment, to be honest. Let's get into Player of the Year. We'll go to Josh first. Who I kind of know where you're going, but I'm just going to get it confirmed. Who's your Player of the Year?
Mine's got one of them isn't Dyson Maeda. He's not in there. So I'm going with either one of Celtic's two new signings in Kieran Tierney and Benjamin Negrin. I think the early signs of Negrin in a Celtic jersey look really, really good. I think he'll thrive this season. The only thing I think that stops him being Player of the Year is if Kieran Tierney can stay fit. I think to the season and plays the majority of the league games. Without a doubt, he looks really good in pre-season. Couple of assists already. I think the step up in quality from a player like Greg Taylor to him is night and day, and that's no disrespect to Greg Taylor because he served Celtic well throughout his time at the club. But I just think Tierney is one of the best left backs, not just in Scottish football but in British football as well. So I think if he stays fit throughout the season, he will do really well and he will play the year.
You need cover though. You need somebody else in there.
But I think Hayato Inamura has done really well in pre-season.
Think he's there? Think he plays left back?
I think he plays left back. Yeah, he's played left back every game pre-season so far, barring the first game that he wasn't available for. So I think he's the Tierney backup. I can't see Celtic signing another left back now. So yeah, and I think it looks good. It looks like a good option. At only 250k. But yeah, Tierney's my player of the year.
Okay, Lewis, who you got Player of the Year?
Benjamin Negrin.
Okay.
Yep. I'm glad Josh flagged it. He's been outstanding so far in pre-season. Been really impressed with him. Was a full Swedish international, so I was kind of expecting a fair bit from when he came in. Intriguing kind of position. I thought he played against Al Ahly there. Kind of, it seems like he's quite versatile, Josh. The ability to kind of float around, really. I know he's obviously naturally a winger, but was playing a bit deeper and kind of like the pocket. The other night was again really taken by what he offers Celtic, and I just think he's a really, really exciting signing.
In the midfield, obviously scored a lot for Nordsjælland last season, and in terms of his athleticism, he can get about. He looks like a big, strong, kind of physical boy as well. He can play right in the right wing. He can play in the left wing. I think he's even played as a number 9 a couple of times throughout his career. But he's on. He has over 200 senior games under his belt. Celtic getting him for 1.5 million. Really, really good bit of business.
So big vote of confidence for Benjamin Negrin. Graham, who is your player of the year?
That's too much Celtic. It's Claudio Braga, man. It's Neil Dawn. Come on, get a grip. Nah, I'm gonna say Claudio Braga. What I've seen I know it's early, but what I've seen so far, I think he's gonna take the Premiership like a duck to water. He's such an entertaining player to watch. So I'm gonna say Claudio Braga.
Claudio Braga. Robbie, who's player of the year?
I would love to say Benjamin Negrin. I would, because I think he's the type and profile of player you want to have representing and kind of flying the flag for your league as far as goals and assists go. But I kind of looked historically, and you look at it when Celtic play well, their midfield plays well. So I went one of their midfielders, and again, coming at it from my lower league hat on, I would love to have Luke McCowan in that conversation. I would love for him to have a good season and knock on the door and say, look, I can break into the Scotland squad. I would love for that to happen. Now, it was a toss-up between two, and, Celtic supporters in this chat, feel free to shoot me down for it. I'm not sure of the transfer stance on both of them. It was a cross between Hatate and Engels. Now, I went and edged it for Engels just because when you pay that amount of money for somebody, you need to be winning a player of the year. Now, there wasn't, I probably thought myself into a corner with it. Like I say, I'd done this early July, and I'm thinking, who is going to be up there for the conversation? And I'm looking at the quality that Engels can possess at times. And I went for him for player of the year. I'm fully expecting him now to leave in the next 2 weeks. But I like to make my predictions, Scott, and stick with him. I mean, last year I went for Paulo Bernardo and he got injured by October, didn't he? So that went well.
I'm in a real toss-up between Maeda and Mohamed Diamande. I think Maeda speaks for himself. I think he's the best player at his job in Britain. Like, I really do believe that. I think he's exceptional at what he does for Celtic, and I don't think there's many players like him who can do the job so efficiently. Like, we know his technical ability isn't the best. It's probably why he's not playing for in a top 5 league. But his work rate, his pressing. I mean, there's so many things. Goals as well. His goal return last season was exceptional, and I think just took him to another level. I'm going to say, though, I think Mohamed Diamande could be the one player from a Rangers point of view who could just transform under Russell Martin. I think the way he can take the ball in the half turn, I think his pressing's really good. I think his technical ability is still I think he's still a diamond who can very much be cropped this season. I'm going to say Maeda, but I would give a shout out to Mohamed Diamande this season from a Rangers point of view, because I think he could have a good season. I think this is the hardest one of the whole award, of the whole predictions. Josh, who's top goal scorer?
If Daisen Maeda was going to 9 for Celtic, I would have him as the top scorer nailed on. But I don't think that's going to happen this season. I don't even think he's played as a number 9 in pre-season yet, so I don't think he's going to play this campaign. So I'm going to go with Lawrence Shankland. I think he'll do well under Derek McInnes. I think he can return to his top form. Obviously, not a great campaign last time out, but yeah, I think he'll do really well and finish top scorer.
Okay, Lewis.
Adam Idah.
Oh,
yeah. I see Josh's face there. I just have a sneaky suspicion that you look at the table last year, right, and take Maeda and Dessers out of it. You've got Sam Dalby and you've got Simon Murray. No one else got close. Right? I personally think a lot of the other teams. Lawrence Shankland's a very good shout but I personally disagree with what Graham said earlier. I know he's the captain, but I don't think he is undroppable. I think, as he pointed to James Wilson's a top talent, but I don't think Shankland will be nailed on to start every week, personally. And I just think, he's been heavily criticised, Adam Idah, and rightly so. But I just think second season bounce factor. Obviously, it's a difficult one because I don't really have a strong case, but I just feel like he has dealt with the criticism relatively well so far, in my opinion. And he is a goal scorer. He is a goal scorer. I just think he could be in for a big season. No strong view, but I don't think there's a standout striker in the league, in my opinion, this year, which is why I've gone for Aramida.
Nah, I agree with that. I don't think there's a standout striker. Graham, who's your top goal scorer?
Because we've got Lawrence Shankland. It's Lawrence Shankland. Come on, I agree with Josh. Of course I do.
Okay. Robbie?
Remember I said I'd come back to you and I would show my working. Call me woke. Kieran Bowie.
Okay.
See, when you first sent the list of questions in, and I was looking at top scorer, I didn't even need to really kind of have a feeling to go on and see who's done well previously. Shankland, Maida. I thought Kieran Bowie. I think had he not get the injury, he would get double digits as far as goals scored. I think that definitely hampered them. And I think him getting a number 9 jersey at Hibs, I'm of the personal belief that squad numbers mean something. Maybe call me a romanticist, I don't know. But I think it's certainly a big mark for him to step up. I think he'll answer the call. I don't think Shankland will be too far behind him. I would love it from a Scotland point of view if he definitely is back in contention. I do believe no amount of times he came out in the Daily Record or he came out on Hearts TV and said, I'm no bothered by the contract situation. He was. And I think it's evident. I think we'll see that evidently this season when he's back getting at least 15. But I do think certainly my head went Kieran Bowie.
Okay.
There you go, Graham.
I'm going to go for Lawrence Shankland. I'm between Shankland and Simon Murray because if Dundee have to have any chance of staying up, they need Simon Murray to be superhuman again this season. I'm going to go with Lawrence Shankland because I don't think there's a lot of strikers at all. I don't think Celtics. I think Adamida's a number one option. I don't know where Rangers are at with their strikers. If you ask me in September 1st, I might have a different opinion depending on who's still at Rangers. I just think Shankland's the kind of proven one who we know if he gets back to form, he can score 20 goals. Because like last season's top goal scorer was 18, it was Cyril Dessers. Like if you'd said that to me 12 months ago, I'd have been absolutely astonished that Cyril Dessers was top goal scorer. Not because of I don't even think Dessers is like that bad a striker. I just think 18 goals is a really low figure for a top goal scorer. Do you know what I mean? Like again, like you can argue is there a spread of goals across a side? Yes, but I think Lawrence Shankland's only one in that kind of list I can see comfortably getting to 20 if he's at his best. And I think 20 could probably be enough this season. Signing to watch, Josh, who's your signing to keep an eye on this season?
With Shin Yamada, I think the early signs of him look really good. I think it could prove to be an intriguing addition for them at the top end of the park. But I'm going to go with JJ Gassama at Rangers, 21 years of age, coming into the club. Obviously, foundations in terms of being in Paris Saint-Germain's academy. Impressed down south last season, scored in his debut against Panathinaikos last week. I think Rangers struggled for pace, for a bit of electricity in the wide areas last season. Obviously, had Vassar Gianni, but other than him, didn't really have much else on a consistent basis. So I think, Gassama can come in and I think he'll do well. Maybe not get Player of the Year, but he's certainly a signing to watch, in my opinion.
Okay, so we've got Jedi Gassama for Josh. Lewis, who's your signing to watch?
I had kind of two players here. Claudio Braga needs a mention. He's been really impressive so far. But I'll give it to Nicholas Milanovic, Aberdeen winger, on the verge of the Australian national team breakthrough. Played for Western Sydney Wanderers last season. Just I've not seen anything of him so far, but for what I've read, he sounds like a really exciting prospect. Electric pace. He's at a good age. I think he could have a big season for Aberdeen.
Okay, Graham, who's your signing to watch?
I'm taking my Hearts bias head off, and I've actually gone with exactly the same one as what Lewis has said. I have also gone with Nicholas Milanovic of Aberdeen.
Okay, so 2 votes for Milanovic. Robbie, who's your signing to watch?
I had Milanovic in contention for being up there as far as output and top scorer. Honestly, when I was thinking about I was going through the recent signings to answer the next question. I was looking at Milanovic's record with Western Sydney Wanderers, and I was like, 12, 14, 16s. That's and I was like, he's a winger. So I think he'll be up there. I've then toyed with the idea, Benjamin Nygren, because I didn't give him enough credit for the Player of the Year shout. But for me, I think stability and for what a team needs, I've went Joe Rothwell for Rangers. I think he's been consistent in the English Championship for a while. Looking at his time with Leeds. So I think, and I think he is what Rangers needs. He's got that cross between Diamandi and Raskin, where he's got the bite and he can play and he can cover ground well. So I think Joe Rothwell is the right player at the right time for Rangers. Signing of the season.
Okay. I do really like Joe Rothwell. I was at Ibrox on Tuesday night. I was very impressed with the way he kind of conducted himself in the middle of the park. I think he's probably, if Rangers are going to have a Callum McGregor, it's probably him. Just the way he kind of sits there and he's very loud. I was sitting right high and you could hear him quite loudly. And it's not very often in front of 50,000 fans you can do that, but kind of tells you maybe how good he is on the park at being loud. I think Claudio Braga's not got enough mention, so I'll get him on my list as well. I think Nygren, from what I've seen, I really like the look of him. I think as well, I don't think he's a complete winger. I don't think he's going to play winger every game. He could be one of those who could sometimes play a 10. Like I think he's more of a wide forward, I think is the best way to put it. I don't think he's an out and out winger. I can see him though getting a good tally. I think he's a real interesting signing. I think for £1.5 million, he could be a real good bit of business. Just to not mention the top five, the one I'm going to go for is Daniels at Kilmarnock because I think he could be a good fit for them. Don't think he's going to be like a 20-goal machine, but I think in terms of an out-and-out Kyle Fussell replacement, I think he's probably better than Kyle Fussell. I think he's got the potential to be better, and I think he could be a good fit for Kilmarnock. I can see him, so I'm going to go for Gennaro Daniels for Kilmarnock.
Scott, I'm gonna give a bit of credit to Russell Martin here because I think on Thursday to throw Finlay Curtis into a Champions League qualifier and it paid off massively. He looks a bit like James Wilson at Hearts. He looks as he's got a big future, and I think we don't see a lot of young talent in the SPL these days. But I think he's got something about him. I know the goal was deflected, but the run that he made from out wide to take the shot on, he looks like he's got something about him. He doesn't look like he's scared of anything. I think Finlay Curtis could have a very, very good future, and he could be a really good player for Rangers this season, I think, as well.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I think the thing that impressed me most is in the first half, the game kind of passed him by a wee bit. I thought at times he looked out of his depth. So to come out in the second half and score that goal, and he was getting himself in better positions as well. I think it's more when you're that age, especially a team, a side like Rangers and Celtic, and even like the kind of Edinburgh sides as well. You have to be mentally switched on. It's probably more important having that than the technical ability at times. And not a lot of teams have that. I think that's maybe why we're in a kind of good period now, and there's not many teams that do have a good record with youth in Scotland in the past 10, 15 years. So we need more of that. I mean, Josh has brought up Tierney. Tierney's the only one I can remember that's came through and get like 200 games for a club before getting a big move. Like in the past few years, like Patterson get left. Ellie Gilmer obviously went to Chelsea quite young. There's just not a great track record with youth. Like Lewis Ferguson had to go to Aberdeen and Hamilton and things like that. Like it's something that really needs improved on, and I could probably spend all day on it.
When you have a player coming through the academy, such as a Finlay Curtis or a Kieran Tierney, there's an extra bit of passion from that player and an added connection between them and the supporters, and that's something that can really be matched by a player you bring in from abroad. I mean, obviously James Forrest has been in and around Celtic's first team for a long, long while, but the goal he scored at the end of last season, the feeling among the supporters, the feeling on the pitch and in the ground, that cannot be matched if another player scored that goal that came in from abroad. So I really hope Finlay Curtis continues to progress and gets a regular place in Rangers first team this season.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Let's go into the cups. Josh, who you got winning the Scottish Cup and League Cup?
And it's a toss-up between the League Cup and the Scottish Cup, and I think Celtic will win the other one. So I'll go with Celtic for the Scottish Cup. They'll get that crown back, and then I think Rangers will win the League Cup. They'll go off to a good start.
Okay. Lewis, who you got for the Scottish and League Cup?
Hearts to win the Scottish Cup.
Oh.
Celtic to win the League Cup. Specialists in the competition. I think
Graham from the ceiling.
I think Hearts are in for a really big season. I do, Scott. I just think I'm intrigued as well on the back of this window what type of players he brings in January. If they have got off to a strong start, will he tinker again, or will he stick with the players he's got? Obviously, a lot will depend on injury situation, whatever. But I just think Hearts will get stronger and stronger as the season goes on. Hence why I think the Scottish Cup, they haven't won it for a good number of years. I just think I really think Hearts will win some silverware this year.
Awesome. Graham, who we got for Scottish Cup and League Cup?
Loving Lewis's positivity about Hearts series. I'm getting quite excited. I'm going slightly different. I've got Hearts to win the League Cup and Celtic to win the Scottish Cup. I mean, it's a difficult time. We've got St Mirren away in the last 16 of the League Cup, but I've never seen Hearts win the League Cup. I want to see us win that, so I've gone for Hearts to win the League Cup.
Okay, Robbie.
So again, showing my working, and I was mentioning how I'm excited about the competition in the league as a whole. I went for a bit of history for the first time since 1980. You can fact check me on that one if you want to. I went for all 3 trophies to be shared between individual teams. So I've went for a Rangers Scottish Cup victory. And before you start punching me through the screen, Graham, there will be a cup final appearance for Hearts. I don't know against who, but I went for Aberdeen to double down and get a League Cup victory in there.
Right, let's go to Championship, League One and League Two. We'll actually start with Robbie on this because this is Robbie's moment to tell us why Queen of the South will win League One. Go with your Championship, League One and League Two, Robbie, and again, show your working.
So Championship, I went for Roy McGregor's Rambling Venison Merchants. I think it will be them. Recruitment wise, yeah, but you can say the same for St Johnstone. They brought in Championship proven players. I like Valakari as a manager. I do. I really, really do. And you'll be happy to hear, Scott, that I think Ayr United have recruited extremely well. Take my personal friendship bias away from about half of your squad now that you've signed. I think Ayr are nailed on for third and they will compete, but I just look at the financial muscle that County can muster up. I think Jordan White is a wonderfully magnificent lower league striker. I think he could be up there for contention for top scorer for the Championship. Just about his game management, and again, for as long as County keep a hold of Ronan Hale, they'll be fine. So yeah, I've went them to win the tussle for the Championship. League One, I've not went for my team. I went for Inverness. I think I like Scott Kelleher. Oscar McIntyre, who was with Queens last season, is a fantastic signing. And I just think you look at if they didn't have the -15, they were finishing second. You talk about galvanising, do you know what I mean? So they were really, really unfortunate last season. I know the administration. What's that, Liz? Oh no, nobody interrupted me. Sorry, I must be hearing things. I think you look at the kind of galvanising they had despite losing the -15. I think that will spur them on again this year, and they'll win League One. League Two, I went for Dumbarton. Kind of joyous story of them turning everything round. Again, recruited really well. They seem to have their identity back. Your man Mario seems to really be no treating this as a toy. I think he's taking it to his heart. I think Dumbarton look like they're building something this year, and I'm all aboard the hype train for that one. So, Championship County, League One Inverness, and League Two Dumbarton.
Okay, Josh, who have you got? Championship, League One and League Two.
So hopefully the audio is all good this time and you can hear us.
Good now, yeah.
So far so good. Championship, I'm going with Ross County to get themselves straight back up. I think keeping hold of Ronan Hale could be massive for them. They've not sold him yet. I'm surprised no one from the Premiership has come in for him. So yeah, I think due to him, the financial power they have over the other teams in the league, I think County will go straight back up into the Premiership with Don Cowie at the helm. In terms of League One, I'm not as clued up on the lower leagues as you other guys. I'm very much a Premiership man myself, but I'm going to go with Cove to go up. They came close last season in the playoffs. Hamilton have obviously got that kind of transfer embargo. If they can get a decent co-op agreement with someone, they might do well. But yeah, sorry, Robbie, I'll be going with Cove to go up from League One to the Championship. Then League Two could be a controversial call, could be somewhat of a popular opinion that I've heard a lot of people hit out with recently. Is East Kilbride winning League Two there? Rise, I think they'll continue that, get themselves into League One. Mick Kennedy and Cy Ferry, they've signed a couple of youngsters who used to be at Celtic. Lewis Dobby, who's a decent goal scorer in the Lowland League. They've brought in Joe Morrison between the sticks, and they've kept a lot of their squad together in the League Cup so far. They've had some decent results. Obviously beat Wraith Rovers at Starks Park. So yeah, I think East Kilbride will win League Two. So there you go.
Okay, and we had you clear as a bell there, so well done
Happy
on that.
days.
Lewis, who we got for Championship, League One and League Two?
Championship, St Johnstone. I personally think it'll be a three-horse race between the three that teams that Robbie mentioned, Ayr United, Ross County. My reasoning for County not winning it is I don't think Ronan Hale will still be a Ross County player by the end of the window. I know for a fact that his agent is pushing hard to get him a move to a Premiership team.
Does their name rhyme with Rabbereen? Because that's what I've heard, and I can see that being an ideal fit.
Yeah, potentially. I think a lot depends on that. I really do. I think he's that good a player, that he's too good for the Championship. And if he goes, then I don't think County have the necessary goals in their team to win the title. I just think St Johnstone have recruited really well. As Robbie said, a lot of kind of Championship proven experience in there. I think they're a good bet to bounce back up, which is ironic because a couple of months ago I probably would have said that wouldn't be the case when they got relegated. In terms of League One, Peterhead for me. Like the signings of Craig McGuffey, Niall McGinn towards the end of his career now, but obviously adding likes of Cammy Smith, Peter Pollitt, they've got some really good experience in their team there. Obviously trying to build on the back of a great year last year. I think they've got a solid squad. I think they can do it again and get promotion to the Championship. And League Two, narrowly going for Spartans, Scott. Proper little community club. Made again, like the look of their team now. They've got proven experience in Paul Watson, Sean Welsh in there. Cammy Russell, who I think is a top young player. Jamie Dishington. I think it'll be between them and East Kilbride. It needs to be said that John Robertson is too good to be playing at that level for East Kilbride, and Jack Healy at East Fife is another young player who I think is destined for a bigger move in the near future. So I think it'll be a toss-up between the two, but I think Spartans might just edge it.
Okay, so we're going for St Johnstone, Peterhead and Spartans. Graham, who's your Championship, League One and League Two winners?
I think every year the Championship's the best league in Scotland, and it's not going to change this season. I think it'll be fantastic again. But I've gone for an outside bet. I'm going for Dunfermline because I don't think you can underestimate just how important it was to keep Neil Lennon at that club on that new contract. And I think he will still strengthen. I think I watched him obviously against Hearts, first Premier Sports Cup game. I think Josh Cooper looks a really good signing. So I just have a funny feeling for Dunfermline could do well this season and come up. In terms of League One, I've gone Inverness. I know they've got a 5-point deduction, but I don't think it'll take long to make that up. And again, I think they've done very well. I think they'll do very well this season. Peterhead, bringing in Niall McGinn. Yes, he is older, but he's experienced. But I just have a fancy feeling for Inverness to win that. And then League Two, I'm going East Kilbride. The money they've got behind them, backing they've got behind them, I just don't see anything other than East Kilbride for me.
Okay. Championship, I think, is the toss of a coin. I think I'm going to say Ross County, but I think Ronan Hale, if he's there on September 1st, I think Ross County are a stick on. I think there's 4 teams that can win the Championship. Like, I think St Johnstone, I think coming down could actually help Valakari and what he's trying to do. I think getting more bodies in and kind of good experience as well. Like, I like the kind of signings they've made as well. Like Morgan Boys from Morton, Stam Stanton's a good addition from Wraith. I think Ross County, though, I think they've kept. I do think they were unfortunate to go down last season. I think they were very unlucky. I think Livingston beat them on the day. I think if you played that game 7 times, I think Ross County would win. I really do believe that. I think Ross County would win more games. I personally think Ayr have done well in terms of their recruitment as well. Thought they looked okay today against St Mirren. And Dunfermline, the Neil Lennon effect, I think, could have an impact. But I think Ross County at the moment, League One, I'm going to go for Inverness. I will give a shout out to Queen of the South, though. I think they could have a good season. I'm really interested to see if they do sign Tommy Goss, which I've heard that Peter Murphy wants to reunite him. So up in the air, but if that happens, it could kick them forward. Hamilton have the squad to do well, but they are an absolute catastrophe off the park. Like, the board, the fans hate the board. To lose 15 points last season was abysmal, and then to have a transfer embargo because of other problems, lose your stadium as well. They're just a symbolic club at the moment, and I hope the fans get a wee bit of a lift this season in terms of on the park. I think John Rankin's a very good coach. I've actually watched a few of his training sessions and like what he does on the kind of training field. So I hope they can have a good season on the park because they're an absolute bomb scare off the park. But I think Inverness are the club that I think could have the best season. I think their recruitment's been very good. I really rate Scott Callagher as a manager. They seem to have got their act together in terms of the owners. They seem to be kind of backing them. As you all said, they would have finished second last season if it wasn't for the points deduction. I think they'll win the league this season. I think the 5 point deduction won't put them off. And I think there's no world I don't see East Kilbride not kicking on. I think something would have to go really badly wrong for them not to win the league. I think they're just so much firepower. You can argue, is it maybe a year too early? Will they need a year to acclimatise? I think the talent they've got enough to go up. Would give a shout out to the likes of Elgin as well. I could see them in a good season, but for me, it's Ross County, Inverness, and East Kilbride. I think you know where I'm going with the next question. We've got 2 more questions left. Josh, who's the first manager to be out the door?
I think this will be the first question tonight, barring Celtic winning the league, that we all have the same answer to. So yeah, sorry if you're listening, Mr. Presley, but yeah, I think it'll be him.
Okay, so we've got 1 vote for Stephen Presley. Lewis, who's the first manager to lose the job?
Yeah, Presley gone by October.
Okay. Graham?
David Gray. No, I'm joking. Stephen Presley, easily.
Robbie?
It will be a trick or treat, and it won't be a treat for Stephen Presley on Halloween. He'll be gone. Yeah, like I say, I did the predictions in July and thought it was being interesting with the Presley one, but definitely Stephen Presley by Halloween.
Yeah, we are unanimous, Stephen Presley. Although Brendan Rodgers fed up with the board, throws a wobbler.
One thing I will say about that, to be fair, Scott, is I've even been in press conferences myself, and Brendan Rodgers is rhetorically asked, "What did I say on my first day back here? I'll be here for 3 years guaranteed."
Yeah.
So I think Brendan's here.
Nah,
till the end of the season, then he's fully off.
I think so. I think that's entirely accurate, as you say. For more information on our kind of opinions on that, you'll hear us on the Celtic Report during the week. But I think Presley. I just don't see a world where it works out. And again, I'm not even trying to knock Presley as again, it's just the appointments just doesn't make any. It makes sense because it's Strachan and it's an old pals act that we're still living in the 80s with. That happens a lot, but I just don't get it. I just don't. There's nothing to me that says this is an appointment on managerial statistics. There's nothing to me that fits this an analytical managerial appointment. This is, to me, I need somebody in who can do the job, who I trust. I'm not really caring about what he's done in the past as a manager. He's my pal. He'll do what I need him to do. That's all this looks like to me. And I don't think any of you disagree with that.
No.
Would Gordon Strachan actually be better going down to the dugout and doing the job himself rather than bringing Presley in? I don't know.
It's just as well, like, it's not even, there's no body of work to me that suggests that Stephen Presley is like the best person for this job. And I think that should be the only way forward. Like again, this is a massive, massive season. Do you know what I mean? There's two decent teams coming up. There's a lot of excitement in terms of other teams in the league that are kind of spending money. To go and get somebody who's not really good at managing, has never shown any sort of sign that he's a great man manager either. I certainly, like as you says about the kind of press conference, I don't imagine what a sitting in a dressing room at half time if you're down to Airdrieonians. I don't think Stephen Presley's the one to galvanise you in that. Like I've not seen it personally. And I'm not even knocking him because I know people who know him and they say how good a guy is, and I'm not disputing that. I just don't get this from a football point of view, and that's all this should be about.
If I'm a player, and I kind of get what Presley was getting at when he had his first press conference. If I'm a player hearing that, I'm thinking, well, you've no belief in us, so why should we believe in you? Straight away, you've put yourself under massive pressure, and I just don't think the way he carries himself in interviews is particularly great. I just don't think he comes across very well at all. And straight away, the players were thinking, well, why do I want to play for you? You've got a manager there that you're not going to run through big walls for me. So I just think he's put himself under huge pressure, and it's not even his fault. You're not going to turn that down, but I just think it's an absolutely horrendous appointment.
It's just got Mark McGee vibes all over it. It's just bring my pal in because I need somebody in there who I like. And that's it. That's all this is to me. Right, final question. I don't want to lower the mood any lower, but we're going to. It's a World Cup year. Scotland haven't been at a World Cup since 1998. I was 2. So, Josh, will we see Scotland in the US, in the North America in 2026? Can they qualify for the World Cup?
I think, Scott, we could do a whole separate podcast and discuss the national team. I don't think Scotland will qualify for the World Cup. I think they've got a difficult group. Listen, Scotland have a year, 2 years ago, sorry, 2 years ago, definitely you'd fancy them to do well against the likes of Denmark and Greece, but I don't think now they'll get past them. The Greeks have shown themselves to be a quality outfit, obviously beating Scotland convincingly at Hampden in that Nations League playoff, and you know the quality the Danes have. Belarus shouldn't really give Scotland any bother, but it's the top two. You need first to finish automatic and second to even get a playoff, and I'm struggling to think Scotland will even get a playoff at this rate. So I think it will be Steve Clarke's last hurrah, and I don't think it will be a happy one at that.
Okay. Lewis, will Scotland be playing in America, Mexico, or Canada next summer?
No, we will not. And it pains me to say it because I'm always the optimist when it comes to the national team and building for the future. And I remember actually last time I was on the show and we were discussing Steve Clarke and how he's still in a job. In my opinion, is disappointing. I would have made the change before the Nations League campaign. Personally, I think on the back of that last hurrah, I kind of felt we were at a stage where it was time for change. We have a decent batch of young players coming through right now. I would like to see them integrated more than they have been. Obviously, it was pleasing to see Lennon Miller and James Wilson, guys like that, get their chance recently. But the one thing that's fairly striking for me was when Clarke was getting asked in the build up to the Greece game about his contract situation ahead of such a massive game, and basically came out and said, you know, a 70%, 80% chance that I'll leave. But at the end of the year, I'm just disappointed by the whole thing, to be honest, that he's still in the job. I mean, look, give him his dues. He's been an outstanding Scotland manager in terms of getting us back to a major tournament again. But I just kind of feel like we were at the end of the road with him. It was time to look elsewhere. I personally would have looked at Davy Moyes at the time, but I know he's now back in club management. Been quite strong on him being Scotland manager eventually. I just felt the time was right to change it, and I just look at this group now. I think Denmark and Greece have just got too much firepower, in my opinion. So I think we'll be third in the group, and obviously not good enough.
Okay, Graham, will we see Scotland in the World Cup next year?
Yes, we will. We've got our first 2 games are Denmark away and Belarus away. We're getting 4 points out of those 2 games, and we're gonna qualify. Come on, Scotland!
Do you really believe that?
I do actually, yeah. I do.
Okay. Robbie?
A real kind of cross, I really agree with Lewis there. I was one of the more valiant soldiers for Steve Clarke and what he's done for us. And again, the romanticist in me, give him to the end of his contract, give him to the end of his contract. I don't see us doing well. And it's funny that you were mentioning Gordon Strachan because I really feel we're at the transition period that we were at the end under Gordon Strachan. When you had the guys like Mulgrew, Berra, Snodgrass, even Griffiths to an extent, on their way out of the national team. I really feel we're at that transition period with some of the players that we've got at the moment. I feel the young guys like the likes of James Wilson, even Kieran Bowie. Kind of if he does well, like my prediction does. Luke McCowan just kind of coming into the fold. I do feel we're at that transition period, and I don't see us qualifying. Greece gave us a big showing up at Hampden. So much so I left across the road 20 minutes to go. I couldn't stomach it, and I was gutted I didn't need to travel halfway across the country to get home so I could sit and stew in it. It was home before the full-time whistle, but in Denmark as well, traditionally a quality outfit. So I do see us being nailed on for third, and I don't see us doing well, and I do think Steve Clarke will go before his contract ends, which I didn't want to see, but he's not done enough to merit staying on till the end of his contract, politely.
So I'm going to say no as well, and here's the problem. It's not the fact that, his record, he's got Scotland into a major tournament. A lot of better managers than him haven't. I think he's done that. He's got that credit, fair enough. But what have we done in a major tournament? Like, what have we shown ourselves well equipped to be in a major tournament the way we performed? The Euros, I thought we were abysmal in the Euros. I think it was all entirely on the manager. I think this as well, continuing to persist with this midfield four of four central midfielders who could not be less capable of doing the job required. Why are you asking for out and out central midfielders to play a flat midfield four? It mesmerised me. I get we have limited width. I get that. Why are they persevering with this?
I kind of discard the fact that we actually played 3 games out in Germany. It was such a great piss up.
It was, and again, I'm not disputing that, but it's more the fact that every single person could see that Hungary goal coming because we've had the blood and the bad experiences of following Scotland where that goal felt inevitable. But it's a woeful goal to lose from a tactical perspective. It's entirely on the manager. It's entirely, and see that's just again. I'm talking about Presley not having the charismatic appeal. How can you sit in a dressing room and be motivated by that? By what he says in press conferences? I've sat in a Steve Clarke press conferences and wanted to claw my eyeballs out. So imagine sitting listening to that when you're going out in a European Championship.
Which is why I think losing John Carver is a big blow as well.
Yeah.
Because I've sat in a lot of Steve Clarke's press conferences and John Carver, and Carver comes across he's got like kind of a really close bond with a lot of the players. I think he was a big kind of part of that coaching setup. So to lose him, I think is quite devastating because I think he was a great kind of person to have in there for players to confide in or whatever, rather than that's just my opinion, but I think Carver was a big part of that coaching team.
I think I'm not making excuses, but that Switzerland game was huge. We get 1-0 up and we're actually doing all right, and then we make a horrendous mistake from a poor pass from Ralston. Shaqiri scores, and it just saps the energy out of us. I think we had chances second half to win that game, and if we do, it's a completely different occasion. I don't particularly blame Steve Clarke for the whole thing. Listen, Germany game happens. They're a fantastic side, but you've now got someone like Ben Doak in there, who is going to be such a good player for Scotland, I think. And that's where I've got hope that Scotland can qualify. He has given so many fantastic players nightmares. And I think a fit Ben Doak and a change of formation, there's no reason Scotland can't qualify.
But can you see a change of formation though? That's the thing. I don't see it. Like I'm loving your optimism, and again, like I wish I had it, but I just can't. find myself getting motivated by this.
I don't even see him dropping Grant Hanley, and he gets a lot of flack. I think he's a decent footballer. Kenny McLean. I don't see him dropping that guard of players, and that's why I'm saying I think that's where we're at in regards to the Strachan era back in 2018, where he wasn't dropping Mulgrew, he wasn't dropping Berra, he kept playing him, kept playing him, kept playing. I just don't. Honestly, it's just 6, 7 years ago all over again, and I think we need to tether ways in a respectful way, but in a way that's going to advance us. Because we have so much quality, man. So much quality, even middle to front. We do. Ben Doak, Lennon Miller, James Wilson. But
Lewis Ferguson now.
Lewis Ferguson, yeah, man, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, there's a crop coming through. I just want a better manager to get the best out of them. And again, it's even if you're going to persevere with this midfield four, there's no. I mean, the fullbacks as well, like Ralston and Robertson. Like Robertson in particular, there's a reason Liverpool are going for a new left back. You can't get up and down as much anymore. And again, it's wee things like that. You can't, when you persevere with players who are just not cutting it. And I'm not saying again, we know the quality that McGinn, McTominay, Gilmour, Christie, we know what they all possess. It's just they clearly can't play in a system together. So why are you persevering with this? Or if they can, he's not doing it.
A big problem for me, and I've had this issue for a while. Listen, everyone knows I'm a big Lawrence Shankland fan, but our lack of quality up front is a big problem because we keep playing Che Adams. Che Adams is not good enough for me. His last few goals have been against Gibraltar and teams that you should score against. I've said for a while, I don't think we've got a real top-class striker coming through. So if you're putting balls in the box from out wide, who are you putting them into? Because Che Adams...
Are you saying that Kieran Bowie has not got the potential to be a top-quality striker?
There's potential there, but I just look at guys like Lyndon,
Tommy Conway,
Che Adams. For me, just don't do it. We need better than that from you up front. That's where I've got an issue.
We've not had it since '98.
No.
We haven't.
I think the other problem as well is goalkeeper. I think that's another big area for me. I've grown up with some fantastic Scotland goalkeepers. Yep. Gordon, McGregor, Marshall. Who's the next one? I thought the Kieran Slicker thing was abysmal. I think he should have been fired for that alone. To put somebody in that position was a disgrace. And you could see, I'm not a body language expert, but oh my God, I wish I could just get him off the park and give him some, do you know what I mean? Just give him some form of encouragement, because that was an embarrassment for them. And that's entirely in the manager. Because you cannot put somebody who's played, 73 minutes of competitive football in 16 months in a position like that. It was an absolute embarrassment. And I entirely leave that in the manager. And I think Greece and Denmark are just better than us. And I think they're better structured, better coached. And I think sometimes in international football, that is it. You can have the best players in the world. I think France is a perfect example. France have had their struggle since winning the World Cup, and they've got about 4 or 5 world-class strikers. You can't play them all, but you need to find the structure, and Deschamps isn't doing that. And I'm not saying it's the same thing, but international football is it's more coaching than anything else. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have a player that fits a position, you go and buy another one if you're a club manager. Do you know what I mean? You need to change it tactically in international football. That's the only way you get results. And I don't see that. I don't see that having the impact. So for me, I think people know where I'm at. I would have probably pulled the trigger after the Hungary game, personally. That's my opinion.
But hey, the Liechtenstein result was terrific.
Yeah, Che Adams got a hat trick, so Graham said
it's all very positive, exactly.
But no, overall, how much are we looking forward to the season before we wrap up? Is anybody any reasons for people who might be viewing this who's maybe never watched Scottish football before? Somebody give them a reason to watch Scottish football this season. Watch them in Premier Sports, BBC Scotland, Sky, any other Solid Sport. If you can watch, I watched the Dundee United game in Solid Sport. I've never had such a bad viewing experience in my life.
You get a magic telly, Scott?
It is the most laggy thing ever. I tried to cast it to my telly. It was horrendous. So we need better deals and try to get that. Any encouragement for the viewers of why Scottish football is a place to be this season?
Just drama, controversy, and what more could you want? Bad refereeing decisions.
Well, we'll cover that. Yep.
Yeah, contentious VAR calls. Yeah, what more could you love?
The one thing I will say, it's actually been quite nice in the Premier Sports Cup not to have VAR at some of these games, because you can then celebrate a goal and think it's not going to get ruled out. I've quite enjoyed that.
I've got a word count of how many times I'm going to say the word VAR this season. If it's over or under 1,000, I'll be intrigued either way. But we are going to wrap up there, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to have all the guys on, and thank you very much for tuning in. First of all, to Josh.
Thank you, Scott. Very much enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Lewis, thank you very much.
Pleasure, Scott. Looking forward to the season starting.
Brilliant. Graham, thank you very much. And Claudio Braga Supporters Club, I imagine, will be full effect starting in
What is, mate?
August.
Enjoyed.
And to Robbie Boyd, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Always tuned in, and we'll see you all. Enjoy the new season. Thank you very much.